I've lived through a great deal of history. This is in a short span of years. I feel excited about it. It never dies in my heart. I think of it often. The most dramatic history in my era, in my time, was World War II. It is now possible for the first time to do a series of programs which have fidelity, authenticity, and high drama. We do not need anything spurious. Effects, phony shots, dramatics. Let the film tell the story. As a war editor of Collier's magazine, I lived through some of them. As a war correspondent, as a writer. I wasn't always right in what I said, but it's only now that I know I wasn't right. And it's only now that I think you will find a freshness, a newness, a compelling atmosphere about a series such as we project. I'm Jim Bishop. I write historical books. Once I was a war editor. The facts available then were mostly concerning our side. Now, all the records of all the nations are available. The pieces are falling into place. Nakamura Masaki was a Japanese infantry corporal in 1945. Today he's a miner living near Kyushu, Japan.
私は戦争の終わった年の11月に In November of the year the war ended, I returned home to my village of Miyazaki as a living ghost. The notice that I was killed in action was sent out, and my funeral was over by the time I returned. My name had been inscribed on this memorial to the dead.
Calvin Inman, one-time Carlson Raider, was a sergeant in the 5th Marine Division in 1945. Today a precision machinist, he lives with his family in Los Angeles.
I feel very lucky that my life was spared because some of the boys weren't so lucky that lived a lot better life than I lived. And I was one of the chosen few.
At Iwo Jima, Masaki and Inman met in battle. One Japanese, one American, relived that moment in history for us today. Iwo Jima, a black speck in the blue Pacific, 600 miles south of Tokyo. Only 2.5 miles wide, 4 miles long. It's an ugly island of volcanic rock and sand, spewed up from the bottom of the ocean. Iwo is halfway between the American-held bases in the Marianas and the Japanese home islands. Here would be an ideal emergency landing strip for the crippled B-29s coming back from the Japanese fire raids. The U.S. Air Force needs it. The Japanese know it. And they don't intend to give it away. To command the island's defense, the Japanese High Command picks one of their toughest, Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kurabayashi. In June 1944, he goes to Iwo to save the island or die there. In the next 3 months, he moves in guns, tanks, and troops, doubles the size of the garrison, does his best to render the island impregnable. Men arrive at the rate of 500 a day. By October, 21,000 troops are on the island. One of those troops is 35-year-old Corporal Nakamura Masaki. A veteran of the Manchurian campaign, Masaki is recalled to active duty from his job at the Mitsubishi Mining Company.
私は班長です。I am a squad leader. We are told that Iwo Jima is in danger. We have been sent here to help. We are ordered to dig. The earth is hot. I choke on the sulfur fumes. We can only work for 3 hours. Then we must rest for 3.
Here at Iwo Jima, Kurabayashi's defense will be unique. There will be no banzai charges, no frenzied counterattacks at the beachheads. A static defense with everybody dug in to stay. He divides the island into separate defensive sectors, rings each one with guns, mortars, landmines, and bunkers 5 feet thick. Underground, as this diagram shows, the island is a honeycomb of rock and cement. 5 levels of tunnels, most 30 feet below ground, connect the entire complex. When the attack comes, any advance will be made over dead Japanese bodies. The code name he gives his defense, desperation. December 8, 1944. American B-24s call on the island. The Japanese have been using Iwo to stage raids on American B-29 bases in the Marianas. Admiral Nimitz awards it top priority. Neutralize it now, take it in February. For 74 days, the B-24s hammer the island.
The air raids go on and on, day after day. Will it ever stop?
Few of the deeply entrenched positions on the island are seriously damaged, but the island's anti-aircraft gunners have a deadly reputation, and their fire takes a heavy toll in bombers. February 12, 1945. 485 ships are about to begin Operation Detachment, the invasion of Iwo Jima. A vast armada forms near the Marianas and steams north to join the ships of Admiral Raymond A. Spruance's 5th Fleet, the most powerful naval force ever assembled under one flag. D-Day is set for February 19. Aboard are 75,000 assault troops, all Marines. Their commander, veteran Marine General Holland M. Smith. 3 Marine divisions make up the assault force. 4th and 5th divisions to go in on D-Day. The 3rd to be held in reserve offshore. Under the slope of Mount Suribachi, Sergeant Calvin Inman will go into Green Beach. A veteran of 4 Pacific Island assaults, Inman will land with the 5th Division on D-Day.
They tell us the island is shaped like a pork chop. It'll be hot, rocky, and dry, and we're to take this island in 72 hours.
From the beginning, the fleet's movement is no secret. Japanese spotter planes pick it up early, and submarines track it every foot of the way. Kurabayashi is warned. Expect invasion February 15 to end of month.
Today we learned that the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th Marine Divisions are on their way to attack us. Our officers seem confident. Morale is high. We are ready. Perhaps the gods will help us win.
Every soldier of every faith is certain that God is on his side. It is so at Iwo. It has always been this way. 0600, February 16.
We hide deep in the caves. The air is hot and filled with sulfur fumes, but at least we are safe. The shells exploding above sound like distant thunder.
It's a real morale builder. Big guns booming. And we're going to land right under this fire that's going to keep our heads down a little bit while we come in on the beach.
dawn of D-Day, Monday, February 19, 1945.
Over the side. Remember, when you get in the boats, keep your head down. All right, boys, let's go. And everybody gets down in the boat. You see that their chin strap and their steel helmets fastened and their rifles loaded. Everything's ready to go.
American intelligence estimates that there are 13,000 Japanese dug in on Iwo. The Marines will be facing over 22,000. 3 miles offshore, the landing craft circle, waiting to assemble, waiting for that signal that begins a long run into another unfriendly beach.
There's a feeling that a man has when he goes into battle that he knows when his time is up. But I always had this feeling that they're not going to get me.
The time draws near. If I must die, I shall die with honor.
Expect a shattered island, a demoralized defense. The bombardment had to work. The first Marines to land are sure it did. Then, within minutes, disaster. Marines are pinned down beneath a withering curtain of fire. The high ground is all ahead of them, and it all belongs to the Japanese.
They fill the beaches. We fire and fire at them, but they keep landing.
There's all the rest of the Marines right here. They haven't advanced too far, not over 150, 200 yards at the most. We're right behind them. We can't go any farther. So I get my men in a big shell hole, settle down until I get some word what we're going to do.
Commanding the beachheads at Iwo Jima, Mount Suribachi, a volcano extinct for years. But on D-Day, a new deadly fire pours from its slopes onto the island's open beaches. For the Marines who land at Iwo Jima, it's like Omaha Beach all over again. Steep ground up front, pinned down by a hail of gunfire, increasing in volume and accuracy. The beach is in turmoil. It is so glutted with wrecked equipment and sunken landing craft that the boats are running out of places to land. 30,000 Marines are ashore, but casualties mount alarmingly. More than 2,000 by the end of the day. More than 500 dead. Predictions that the island would fall in 72 hours now sound like sheer fantasy.
First day, then all the first night, all the next day, we stay right in this one hole. We don't move. because you don't dare move. The artillery fire and the mortar fire and the rifle fire, you just can't believe what's going on above you.
The Marines call for help.
The island is surrounded by the enemy warships. The sky is filled with enemy planes. We are only 600 miles from the homeland. Where are our planes? Where is our Navy?
The Navy gives their code name for Mount Suribachi a new dimension. They call it Hot Rocks. D+1. Take Mount Suribachi. After constant pounding of the embedded fortifications, the Marines move off the beach. D+4. A small patrol of U.S. Marines moves toward the summit.
We heard from the grapevine that our troops was pretty close to the top of the hill. So all morning we was looking back towards the top of Mount Suribachi, just waiting to see what would happen when we did get to the top of the hill.
10:37 a.m.
It really makes you just swell with pride to see American flag, especially on the highest point of the mountain, where you know then from now on that we're going to be looking down their throats instead of them looking down ours.
The capture of Mount Suribachi is not a decisive victory. The main Japanese force remains intact. The Americans have the bony part of the pork chop. The Japanese in the north still have the meat. Sunday, D+6, a time for God. Somehow, with machine guns and mortars thinning out the ranks, God seems more real than he did a week ago. Sunday doesn't last long in a war. Now at the 3rd Division ashore, 60,000 Marines push north, straight into the main line of Japanese defense. It's not a battle of dramatic charges, of sudden decisive victories, only a stubborn, grinding advance. A battle fought in inches and feet, and the Japanese meet it on those terms. none is asked.
We're trying to take Hill 362, and I look up out the side of my eyes, and I see this big, huge object in the sky, B-29, landing, crippled, couldn't make it back to Saipan, and this gives us something that we see now why we were fighting.
Even while the furious battle for Iwo Jima is being fought, 35 of the big superforts will limp in for emergency landings.
They were behind us. They'd come out of a cave. But all we get is a handful of grenades coming out. They lob some grenades out. We have a demolition squad right there. We just hollered for the flamethrower to come over.
By March 9, the bulk of the Japanese defenders have been driven into the northeast corner of the island, their backs to the water. In one area alone, 500 by 1,000 yards, the Japanese have 300 pillboxes, gun emplacements, booby traps. Maneuvering is almost impossible. The battle must be fought in face-to-face combat now.
We shoot at them from the narrow openings in the bunker, then crawl to the other places and fire again. It is like children playing the game of hide from the devil.
It gives you a real insecure feeling to see Marines right beside you. They're getting shot, shrapnel hitting them. You wonder why nothing's hit me yet.
Our numbers grow smaller. Several of the men have already committed suicide by showing themselves at the openings.
Frontal attacks have become too costly to continue. Flamethrowers burn out what can't be blasted out. March 21, 1945. General Kurabayashi radios Japanese troops on a nearby island. We have not eaten or drunk for 5 days, but our fighting spirit is still high. We are going to fight bravely to the end. 3 days later, his final words. To all officers and men, goodbye.
私は機関銃の弾にhit by a machine gun bullet. お腹がちぎれるように stomach seems torn to pieces. The pain is unbearable. I have only to wait for the god of death.
Except for scattered pockets of resistance and sporadic raids from a few concealed Japanese, the Marines' battle for Iwo Jima is over. On March 28, General Holland Smith officially declares Iwo Jima is secure. Corporal Nakamura Masaki lay wounded for 8 days before he was picked up and moved aboard an American hospital ship. Given fine care, his wounds healed during the next 2 months. For Sergeant Calvin Inman, it was to be his last battle. Fortunately, the invasion of Japan itself would never be needed. The Americans needed an airstrip, the Japanese needed time. Both got what they needed, but 27,000 lives bought it. The most densely populated battleground became the most densely populated cemetery. Of the men who fought and died at Iwo Jima, Admiral Chester Nimitz said it best: uncommon valor was a common virtue.